سنة وانتم طيبين. رمضان كريم. extremely excited ان احنا نبتدي الويبينار. This is the first webinar and the first talk of Beyond the White Coat Community. ودي فكرة مجموعة من الدكاترة طلعنا بيها، وشايفين ان هي هتبقى مفيدة جدا لكل العاملين بالقطاع الطبي. ان احنا عايزين نقدم كونتنت يفيد الدكاترة وفي نفس الوقت يبقى غير تقليدي، نون ميديكال او نون كلينيكال عشان نبقى مور سبيسيفيك. فبيقدم التفاصيل التانية كلها اللي احنا ما بنتعلمهاش دايركتلي في كلية الطب، وفي نفس الوقت بنحتاج ان احنا نبقى عندنا معلومات كويسة جدا عنها طول ما احنا بنشتغل. ان شاء الله هيبقى معانا توكس كتيره قوي في بيوند ذا وايت كود كوميونتي واكتيفيتيز كتيره جدا. And we need to make everyone get the best and benefit the best out of this. I'll pass the mic طبعا لدكتور يوسف بلال, one of the main minds and brains behind this idea و co-founder of Medoc. اتفضل يا دكتور يوسف.
مساء الخير، رمضان كريم عليكم. أنا يوسف بلال, consultant ENT أنف وأذن وحنجرة, co-founder of Medoc. طبعا Medoc, if you don't know about it, we digitalize medical records and we try to automate the medical claims. The whole idea of Medoc is to connect everyone في القطاع الصحي أو في ecosystem of healthcare. And عشان نسهل التواصل ما بين الدكاترة والناس والبيشنتس والإدارات الطبية في الشركات وهكذا. طبعا لما جت Beyond the White Coat Community idea, we were very excited. Every single doctor we know is looking for something like this, ان هو يتعلم الحاجات اللي بتعملش كلية الطب. احنا كل حاجة عملناها النهارده في البيزنس اتعلمناها لوحدنا. having this in place, I think will be a great addition وهتadd a lot للهيلث كير في مصر. And I'm very happy to introduce our first talk, Dr. Abdelbaky from John Hopkins University. هو طبعا فخر جامعة اسكندرية و Chief Cardiologist in John Hopkins. He'll give us our first talk about will AI replace doctors ولا they will empower doctors. It's the million-dollar question, and we're looking forward to learn more about it from Dr. Amr. Please, Dr. Amr, you have the mic.
Thank you so much, Dr. Yusuf, Dr. Islam. Thank you for the nice introduction. كل سنة وانتم طيبين. I'm honored and excited to present to the Beyond the White Coat community. So I will start the talk. I'll share my screen. All right. All right, so today I'll be talking about the role of artificial intelligence in healthcare and how this will impact doctors and healthcare providers or healthcare professionals in general. I have no financial disclosures. I'm not invested in any artificial intelligence company, although I wish I did. ChatGPT did not create this talk, but it helped me a lot in preparation. All right, so almost on a daily basis, everyone is hearing this term, artificial intelligence, particularly in the last 2 or 3 years after ChatGPT came into the market, right? And that's because we are currently living an AI.
I'm sorry to cut you. I think your presentation, we can't see your presentation. Can you share again? I'm sorry.
Oh, sorry. Yeah. بتقول لي screen sharing has failed to start. Let me try again. Here. Yeah. How about now?
Now it's good. Now perfect. Go ahead.
Okay, so sorry. So I'll start again. So artificial intelligence, we hear this term on a daily basis for the past 2 or 3 days, ever since ChatGPT came into the market. And that's because we are currently living in an artificial intelligence revolution. And actually, experts now are labeling this the fourth industrial revolution. We're all very familiar with the earlier industrial revolution in the 18th and the 17th century, which had a profound impact on society, on economy, and on human civilization as a whole. But the experts are actually predicting that the fourth industrial revolution, or the artificial intelligence revolution, will even have a more profound impact on our lives, and will affect every, it will be included in every part of our lives. Unlike the earlier industrial revolution, which impacted manual labor and blue-collar jobs through mechanization, the fourth industrial revolution is poised to impact white-collar jobs. So we're talking about physicians, we're talking about lawyers, engineers, accountants, and so on. So before I get into the role of artificial intelligence in healthcare, I think it's important to learn certain terms and define certain terms that we're going to be hearing very frequently over the next few years as healthcare professionals. So first of all, what's artificial intelligence? Artificial intelligence is a very broad term, or it's a very broad field that relates to anything that makes machines smart, right? And this is not a new term. This has been used since the 40s and 50s, and it's just very widely used. It can apply to a lot of things that has been going on even in the last 20 or 30 years or so. NLP, or natural language processing, is basically teaching machines to understand and generate human-like language. So think about Siri on iPhone, Alexa on Amazon, and so on. And then machine learning, which is a subset of artificial intelligence, basically involves systems that learn by themselves with minimal human intervention. And this also is a term that's been used since the 80s and 90s. But what really propelled the field of artificial intelligence and is actually creating this revolution that we're living in is deep learning. And deep learning is basically a subset of machine learning. And that involves using brain-like structure, or brain-like logical structure of algorithms called artificial neural network. So basically algorithms that mimic the way the human brain learns, and you're able to feed it large amounts of unstructured data, and it's able to detect patterns and learn with minimum or no human intervention. So most of the research that's done in the healthcare field is involved using deep learning and artificial neural networks. All right, so what's the current state of AI in healthcare? Now, this is I won't be able to cover everything that artificial intelligence will impact in healthcare, but I'll try to touch on different aspects of the healthcare field that AI will apply to. So first and most importantly, our ability to make diagnoses. And this is really where artificial intelligence excels. Artificial intelligence excels at detecting patterns. And it's actually been shown that machine learning algorithms have been more accurate in detecting breast cancer on mammograms compared to radiologists, more accurate in diagnosing pneumonia on chest x-rays, more accurate in diagnosing melanoma and skin cancer when compared to dermatologists, and more accurate in analyzing pathology slides when compared to pathologists. Another field that AI will have a significant impact on is the field of genomic medicine. So in the very near future, we'll be able to extract DNA and RNA material from patients and feed it into a machine learning or a deep learning algorithm that will be able to sequence the DNA and the RNA data and detect different mutations. And based on the number of mutations, it will be able to predict with very high accuracy the probability that in this individual patient will develop certain chronic disease. So for example, in this patient, there's a based on the number of mutations in their genes, there's a very high probability that they will develop Alzheimer's and depression, with a low probability to develop hypertension. Another exciting field that AI will definitely revolutionize is the field of precision medicine. So what is precision medicine? Precision medicine is basically tailoring medical care based on the unique individual characteristic of the individual patient. So we're talking about based on the patient's genotype, their lifestyle, their biomarkers, and so on. And actually, it's been shown that machine learning algorithm was able to predict the individual chemotherapy response in cancer patients based on the gene expressions of the patient's tumor. It was also able to predict the antidepressant response in patients with depression based on data from the patient's electronic health records. AI will not be only used by healthcare professionals, but it will also be used by patients. So currently, in my own practice, I'm a cardiologist. I have a lot of my patients, I ask them to purchase this device. It's called KardiaMobile. This is a small device that the patient carries around in their pocket. And whenever they're having any symptoms, they're feeling something in their chest or whatever, they can just put their fingers on it and it will create an EKG on their phone. And actually, there's a machine learning organism that is able to detect a very common arrhythmia called atrial fibrillation. So I find this very helpful, and the patients find it very helpful every time they have the symptoms. They don't need to come to the office to get an EKG and so on. Another powerful tool that's been used by the National Health System in the UK is they created an AI chatbot that triaged the patient's symptoms. And this has actually been used by 1.2 million people in London. It's currently being used. And instead of calling their hotline, they can just use this AI chatbot to triage their symptoms and determine who needs urgent care versus those who don't. And another exciting tools are AI-powered chatbots or AI-powered coaches, basically. So this will be a coach for individual patient based on their individual characteristics to help those patients promote physical activities and lose weight. Another interesting part that AI will help us as healthcare professionals is it will help us with administrative tasks. So, oftentimes us physicians and healthcare professionals were burdened with a lot of administrative tasks. So, for example, for us, we have to do a lot of documentation on a daily basis. We have to document our notes and so on, either by typing to the computer or by writing with our hands. And nowadays, there's something called ambient AI scribe. What is an ambient AI scribe? So basically, this is an app on your phone that you turn on the mic when you're in an exam room with a patient. And you start talking naturally to the patient, getting history, examining them. And then at the end, this app is able to generate a note based on my conversation with the patient with minimal intervention on my end. We actually started using this in Johns Hopkins very, very recently in the last couple of months, and I find it very helpful. It saved us a lot of time. I don't have to go back and keep typing or dictating and doing a lot of work. And actually, interestingly, they did a study on those apps, and they found that physicians who use those apps spend less time in the electronic health record and saved us a lot of time, and also spent less time generating notes. All right. So artificial intelligence is very exciting, but there are a lot of challenges and limitations, particularly when you apply to the healthcare. The healthcare field is a whole different field. There's always limitations. There's so many different angles and in the healthcare. There's ethical considerations and so on. So first of all, one of the main problems of machine learning is this black box problem. So basically, in the way the machine learning happens is you provide it with data. So for example, one of the things that we used is there was a study done on patients who had 12-lead EKGs. You provide it with millions of EKGs, and then machine learning was able to detect certain patterns and was able to predict patients who developed atrial fibrillation in 2 years. Now, we have no idea what in the EKG itself, what pattern in the EKG that the machine was able to detect. This is called black box. We don't know how it works. It works very accurately. We just don't know how it works. And this can sometimes be a little bit difficult in the field of medicine and the field of healthcare because we really try to understand how things work, right? Another problem is, especially with the large language models, such as ChatGPT and Grok and other models, is hallucination and misinformation. And I'm sure, a lot of people who use ChatGPT, this happened to them, is sometimes the output will be inaccurate. It will give inaccurate data. Now, that's not a problem if you're generating an email or doing other administrative tasks or so on. But when it comes to patients' lives and patients' health, there's really very low appetite for misinformation. Another big problem with artificial intelligence is privacy and the patient's privacy for the patient's health records. So yeah, I discussed the role that will play in genomes, and it will predict, let's say someone who's important, and the AI was able to predict that they will develop Alzheimer's down the road. Now, who's going to have access to this data, right? Is it, the big health tech companies, the healthcare system, and so on? So this is something that we have to be careful of. Cyber attacks. So let's say there is a machine learning algorithm that regulates a patient's blood sugar by secreting insulin through the insulin pump. If someone was able to hack into this and secrete high insulin levels, that will result in low sugar levels, and basically you can end up killing someone by that. So that's something is of concern. Bias and inequities. In the clinical trials that we've been doing, for example, in the field of cardiology, a lot of medications have been studied on patients who are from Europe, Caucasian patients from Europe. Does this apply to, patients in the Middle East or Asia? It's unclear. And then once we feed this data into the algorithm, the output will also be biased to those patients. So this is something that is also needs to be considered. Legal liability. If a machine learning algorithm makes a mistake, who's going to be liable? Is it the patient? Sorry, is it the physician, the company that trained the algorithm, the healthcare system? A lot of questions, and this will have to be very heavily regulated by governments. All right, the million-dollar question: will AI replace physicians? I would like to conduct a poll. If you guys are able to answer that, will AI replace or empower physicians? Replace, empower, or not sure? All right, so I will continue my talk for now. So will AI replace physicians? So what do the people in the tech field say? After all, those are the people who actually came out with the artificial intelligence. Vinod Khosla, he's a very big venture capitalist and an investor in Silicon Valley, very big investor in artificial intelligence. In 2012 said, machines will replace 80% of doctors. Jeffrey Hinton, labeled as the godfather of neural networks in 2016, said, it's quite obvious that we should stop training radiologists. Now, we're in 2025 now, 80% of doctors, this is has not happened yet. In fact, we have actually shortage of physicians. Radiologists, there's still radiologists applying and entering and residency. Radiology residency is actually still very competitive so far. So that's an interesting take. So what about the take from people who actually work in the field? What about physicians' opinions and so on? So one thing that is really important to comment on is that patients do value the human connection. Patients want to talk to other humans. And actually, I'm going to talk about my own experience during the pandemic. When everything shut down, we actually stopped seeing patients in the office and we converted to telehealth. And then, slowly after we started opening up, but we were preferring to do telehealth visits, and patients didn't want to do that. The patients want to come to the office. Even now in 2025, I keep telling the patients, we can just, do a follow-up. You don't have to come to the office. We're just going to chat about the results of your studies and everything. They want to come in. They want the human connection. They want to see my body language. It's reassuring to them. I'm a cardiologist. I spend half of my day reassuring patients, and they like to see, they like to connect with the physicians. And this is not something that I'm making up, or this is not a cliche. This is a study or a survey done by Pew, a very reputable polling company, published in 2023, so relatively recent. This was the title of the survey: majority of US adults would be uncomfortable if their healthcare provider relied on artificial intelligence. 60%, and this survey was conducted in the US, 60% adults said they would be very or somewhat uncomfortable if their healthcare provider relied on artificial intelligence. This is just even relying on artificial intelligence. The question wasn't even if they would like to just work with artificial intelligence and eliminate the physician. Another thing, they said that the patient's personal relationship, 60% said the patient's personal relationship will get worse with their healthcare providers. So patients do care about their relationship with healthcare providers. Intuition and ethical reasoning. This is difficult to replicate by machines, at least in the near future, in my own humble opinion. So for example, obtaining medical history. So, all physicians will understand what I'm saying. When we're all medical students, you go in, you talk to the patient, you ask them a few questions, you ask them about their symptoms and so on. and then you present to your attending physician or your teaching physician, who comes back and talks to the patient and is able to completely get different information, right? Because obtaining medical history is an art. When you see the patient based on their, their background, their educational background, their age, and so on, you're able to ask them questions, and you'll be able to extract questions from them. I don't see the patients talking to an algorithm, enabled, and the algorithm is able. And something that we see with ChatGPT, for example, it's very prompt dependent. The way you ask ChatGPT to generate something for you, if you change a phrase or so, it will generate a completely different output. So this is something to consider. Formulating treatment plans based on patient preference. So I talked about this device that I was using with my patients, the Kardia device, where they do their own EKG. Now, I'm not able to use this with every patient, right? I'm only using this with a subset of my patients who I think will be comfortable using the technology, right? Some patients come from very high, very well-educated patients are able to use it. Some patients are not. I have patients who are very anxious. I know if I tell them about this product, it will just create more anxiety for them than help them. So you have to formulate the treatment plan based on the patient's preference. Communicating with the patient is an art. When you share bad news with the patient, that's an art. For example, I'm Arabic speaking. I live here in the US. Patients come to see me specifically because Arabic patients from the Middle East come to see me specifically because I'm from the Middle East, because they understand that I will understand their culture. They can identify with me and I can identify with them. And I'm able to recommend a treatment plan for them that matches their individual preference because I'm familiar with their culture. I still don't see the machines doing this without our intervention. So again, the million-dollar question, will AI replace physicians or not? I am not sure what will happen. I personally don't see this happening in the next, at least 5 years. But what I know will happen is that healthcare professionals or physicians using AI will definitely replace those who don't. And I think physicians, we are in a very good place to leverage this very powerful tool to increase our productivity, and so that we'll be able to take better care of the patients. This is a very interesting article from The Economist, recently published, how AI will divide the best from the rest. So the take from this article is, initially when ChatGPT and the other large language models came out, everyone thought that this will level the field, right? No, you don't have to be very well educated to write an email anymore, right? Anyone from who finished high school will be able to write an email with extreme professionality compared to someone who has a PhD, for example. But this article actually argues the opposite. So there's a study that was conducted in MIT in the US in scientists who work on new material discovery. And they basically divided those scientists who are experts in the field, who were initially very productive without using AI, and compared it with scientists who were not initially, or was not as productive, or were not as experienced. And they found that scientists who were not as experienced, when they used AI, they were still able to increase their productivity, but not by so much, compared to scientists who are experts to begin with. They were able to actually double the productivity. And that's because they were able to leverage the tool and understand how to use it and how to how it can help them, empower them to use it. So in conclusion, AI is definitely revolutionizing healthcare as we speak. Will AI replace healthcare professionals? It's unclear, but what will happen is healthcare professionals using AI will definitely replace those who don't. Healthcare professionals should prepare for the revolution. Everyone in the healthcare field should have a very basic understanding of how artificial intelligence work, and everyone should start leveraging AI applications in their workflow. Thank you so much for your attention, and I will stop share.
Thank you, Dr. Amr, for the very interesting PowerPoint. The presentation was very good, and it was like eye-opening لحاجات كتير قوي قوي في الموضوع. طبعا في اليو اس الدنيا شغاله بحاجات other devices, other applications. سابقنا بكتير طبعا جدا عن اللي ماشي هنا، بس it's always very interesting to know بيفكروا ازاي والدنيا ماشية ازاي والاتجاه رايح ازاي. وطبعا هيفضل موضوع ال AI ده ملعب مفتوح كده ومش مفهوم قوي اللي قدام يعني. ف anyways عندنا شوية questions. I think so. ممكن لو دكتور عمرو يجاوب معانا. عندنا مثلا دكتور أحمد مختار was asking what about genomic AI.
I think I briefly touched on that.
Yes.
So yes, definitely will play a huge role in genomic medicine, and that's actually also one of the areas where AI will excel, because AI is able to digest very huge amounts of data, and definitely genetic data is very huge. So we're talking about whole genome sequencing, whole exome sequencing and stuff, and is able to detect patterns that we won't be able to predict otherwise. So for sure, it will play a very important role in genomic medicine.
Yes. انا برضو عايز اضيف في الحته دي. طبعا انا من وانا لما دخلت بعمل الانترودكشن وكده نسيت اعرف نفسي. انا دكتور اسلام مراد، استشاري كلينيكال باثولوجي، و يعني طبعا عندي فكره كبيره على السيكونسنج والشغل ده كله اشتغلناه. وطبعا هي الفكره كلها في بيبقى فيه ميوتيشنز او سيكونسز معينه، وبنبتدي نجمع الداتا from different areas and different countries و different cases، ونبتدي نفهم هل ده pathogenic ولا likely pathogenic ولا ده benign، ولا يعني السيكونس ده ايه الامباكت بتاعه في الاخر. فطبعا الاي اي بيسهل الكلام ده بشكل كبير جدا، والهول جينوم سيكونسنج والكلام ده كله. يعني باكد على كلام دكتور عمرو طبعا. دكتور يوسف عندك any questions؟
انا عندي كذا سؤال الاودينس سالوه، بس دكتور بروفيسور عزيز بلال كان برضو بعت سؤال دلوقتي بيسال عن robotics and how it's going to change the future of healthcare. If you can give us your thoughts from the US side. وصلوا لايه وانت شايف what can we implement؟ يعني انا نفسي برضو this panels والويبينارز بنعملها doesn't be بس كلام نظري، نبقى بنشوف حاجات عملية بنقدر نطبقها through softwares, through hardwares, through حاجات in Egypt, and we see what can be done، عشان ما يبقاش بس كلام ان احنا بنقول حاجات نظرية and it's not implemented. can you give us كده brief about robotics and how do you see it؟
طبعا دكتور عبد العزيز, thank you so much for the interesting question. طبعا الفيلد of robotics يعني I didn't touch on عشان ما كانش عندي وقت. بس يعني robotic surgeries, that's going to be a huge field. طبعا دلوقتي عارفين يعني the surgeons are already using robots to operate. يعني عندنا اللي هو الدافنشي بيستخدموه في الاوبن هارت surgeries وبيستخدموه في البروستات surgeries and so on. And you can easily say or you can easily think ان هو يعني دلوقتي the surgeon is actually manipulating the robot, and through artificial intelligence robots will be able to do surgeries. Also interesting, when I came across this survey that I mentioned in my talk, patients were very uncomfortable having robots doing surgeries on them. But definitely robots will play a huge role. To what extent it remains to be determined. I don't see this happening also again in the next few years, but definitely maybe 10-20 years down the road for sure.
Great. I have another question. It's related to AI psychiatrists and psychologists. So I've read some articles and حاجات على قد ايه ان دلوقتي some patients are looking for they are more comfortable talking to an AI than a human being because they don't judge after all. And this is a problem. Maybe as a doctor we بنقول empathy and they believe ان هو ال AI مش هديلهم emotions. But on the other side they feel like more comfortable ان هو يتكلم مع AI ويقول له كل حاجه without waiting for him to judge. what do you think of this part and how would it يعني هل السايكايترست هيتغيروا ولا this is something that will stay because of the emotions and empathy and all that؟
طبعا يعني سؤال interesting. Thank you Yusuf. For sure is and برضه I didn't touch on that because I didn't have enough time. بس يعني the field of psychiatrist chatbots or psychologist chatbots is actually growing significantly. And it remains to be determined how much of a role this will play. But again, going back to that survey that I talked about that was conducted, one of the questions also was patients comfortable with using a machine learning psychologist or a psychiatrist? And also, again, the majority said they were very uncomfortable with that. Another related question in that survey is that it asked about, do you want the algorithm to detect how much pain medicine you get, patients with end-stage cancer and so on. And again, this is actually one of the highest disagreement with the patients. If I remember correctly, it was 80 or 90% said that they don't want that. They want the physician to determine what dose of pain medicine. So it remains to be determined.
Okay. Islam, do you have another question you can come in?
يعني برضو عشان ما نطولش على الناس، هو I'll give a last question. أنا كان سؤالي regarding how to incorporate AI في الeducation للأجيال اللي جاية. يعني إحنا خلاص already خلصنا دلوقتي وبنشتغل، والAI بقى بالنسبة لنا أمر واقع لازم نتعامل معاه. طب الأجيال اللي لسه بيخشوا med schools أول سنة تاني سنة، is there a certain curriculum they should take بيخش لهم بطريقة معينة يتعلموا parts معينة، وده regarding عامة هل في اليو اس مثلا في اتجاه معين للكلام ده، في كلام عن القصة دي؟ واحنا برضو اللي يهمنا في مصر وفي ميدل ايست الناس اللي عليها المسؤولية التعليمية في البلد وكده، سواء جامعات خاصة أو حكومية أو إلى آخره، إزاي هيقدموا ال AI للدكاترة الجداد وللستودنتس والكلام ده كله في الفترة اللي جاية؟
طبعا يعني very interesting question دكتور اسلام. طبعا يعني I'll answer in two ways. اول حاجه I agree 100% in يعني الناس يا ريت المسؤولين في مصر عن التعليم الطبي in يعني artificial intelligence لازم يبقى part of the curriculum for sure. هنا في امريكا there is يعني لسه it's not 100% incorporated in the curriculum، بس يعني everyone is talking about creating this artificial intelligence departments in different universities and so on. So that's one thing, definitely should be incorporated as a part of the teaching or part of the curriculum for medical students. I think also everyone, medical students, physicians who are already practicing, should educate themselves. We shouldn't be waiting just to be educated by that. Everyone should be educating themselves. Everyone should be following the field of artificial intelligence, learning about all those algorithms that come out to the market, using them on a regular basis to get comfortable with how to use the technology. وحتى يعني دلوقتي كمان in all the conferences, I'm pretty sure in our cardiology conferences, there's almost now in every talk says the role of artificial intelligence in echocardiogram and so on. There are a lot of talks, and now there's a subsection of artificial intelligence in conference. I'm pretty sure طبعا يا يوسف واسلام عندكم في الكلينيكال باثولوجي وفي ENT and so on لما تروح المؤتمرات بيبقى فيه الحاجات دي. Everyone should educate themselves, not just in the medical field but in other fields as well. يعني مثلا انا في البودكاست كتير قوي بتتكلم عن artificial intelligence. Economist مثلا, I mentioned an article there in their healthcare section. They have a lot of very interesting articles about artificial intelligence. So we should learn from our fields and we should learn from outside fields. And hopefully the medical students, hopefully it will be part of the curriculum in medical students, in the medical schools.
We're getting many questions. I know your time, you don't have enough time, so we'll be very quick. We have Dr. Mohammed Murtada asking, how do you start using machine learning and how do we implement these practices into our daily, in the day-to-day, on our softwares or whatever we're using, especially in medical fields like rheumatology. As I said, we don't want this to be حاجة نظرية. We want to think of things to implement into our daily lives, to be able to, as you said, be different than people that doesn't use AI. So what do you think is the first step we should do to be able to be part of this? Like, You know, you get my question.
طب I understand طبعا. So يعني first of all طبعا يعني none of the applications that are on the market now are well studied, right? بس يعني you can start leverage. So number one, you should start leveraging AI into even your just routine daily basis. مثلا عايز تكتب ايميل، يعني انا فاكر لما انا كنت لسه اتعينت في تاسك ادمنستريتيف، كنت عايز اقعد، وده كان 2023، كان لسه تشات جي بي تي طالع ما بقالوش شهر، وكنت هكتب ايميل وعايز اكتب ايميل طويل واكتبه لناس كتيره، والايميل ده كان هياخد لي ساعتين. استخدمت تشات جي بي تي، الايميل ده اخذ مني 5 دقائق، 5 دقائق كتبوا لي في 5 دقائق بالظبط، وبطريقه ما كنت يعني كان هياخد مني 3-4 ساعات لو كنت عايز اكتبه. ف this is one way of leveraging. طبعا we still have to wait for approved machine learning algorithms, and they will come out. A major problem is the cost, right? بس I think that يعني مثلا chat GPT ما اعرفش it took it cost I don't know how many $1 million or whatever to train the algorithm. بس مثلا China came out with DeepSeek. ما اعرفش لو حد شايف ولا DeepSeek. They were able to train it with half of the cost or quarter of the cost. فأنا I'm optimistic. The cost will come down. We will be able to use and leverage those apps in our clinical field. I don't think we're there yet. We're still not using it. We're not using it even here in Johns Hopkins and whatever. But so we'll start using it for example, the ambient AI scribe. Tools that make you efficient so that you can focus on clinical care.
Exactly. So you think we definitely start with admin side, then slowly
100%.
it will pass to the clinical side.
It will be ubiquitous. It will be in every part of what we do. Definitely first the administrative tasks, for sure.
Definitely. We won't be able to take all the questions because of the time. Everyone's hungry and we have to. So we're very happy to have you, Dr. Amr. It was an amazing presentation. We learned a lot today, all of us. It was a great intro. We think we'll have many other webinars discussing different problems facing doctors in general. So this will be a great place to start. We are very happy. We had a lot of audience today, and we're looking forward to the next meetings. I would love if any of the doctors can send their abstracts, something interesting they'd like. They have a talk, they have a presentation to be put it عشان نقدر نحطها in the pipeline. As we go, we'll be having a weekly webinar to teach doctors something new every week. And I think Dr. Islam will put the closing and maybe he'll let us know what's the next presentation, or we'll wait till midweekend to find out.
ثانك يو دكتور عمرو، ثانك يو دكتور يوسف. دكتور عمرو تاني وتالت ورابع فخر جامعة اسكندرية.
Thank you.
احنا اول توك كانت عن الاي اي. it was يعني قلنا هنبتدي بالموضوع ده عشان it's one of the hottest topics nowadays. I think it's not disclosed. يعني I think هنحتاج ان احنا نعمل other webinars and other talks، وعلى طول يبقى فيه يعني we're actually planning على فيسبوك جروب ان احنا هيكون على طول بنحط data واكتيفيتيز for all the participants and the members، ان هم على طول نبقى كلنا فعلا بنشارك، و it serves like a real community فعلا. عندنا بقى topics تانية كتيرة جدا جدا very interesting برضو، مش هنحرق، بس هيبقى فيه برضو على الفيسبوك بيجز وعلى السوشيال ميديا وممكن على الواتساب جروبس كمان بنبعت بولز او حاجات كده which talk do you want to، عشان prioritizing برضو الويبينارز والتوكس. احنا عندنا بانل كبيرة جدا وعايزين نبتدي الناس كلها تبقى engaged معانا، فمش هطول عليكم. extremely happy بالفيرست webinar. We're looking forward جدا ل what's coming next. Thank you everyone ورمضان كريم. Goodbye.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Doctor. Bye bye.